Hello.
Hello.
Ah! Sorry.
Hello.
Hello and welcome
Hello.
to a very special episode of the Horror Herald.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not together in the same studio.
No.
We're in our rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. The reason for this is a sad turn of events. My mother has been hit by the coronavirus. Not a great thing. Just around the holiday season, which isn't fantastic. And to be safe, because Louis' little bitch boy, he said, "Stay at home. I don't want you."
Mm-hmm.
And
I
go
told
and
him
do
this.
the.
He was like, "My mother has COVID." And I said, "Finally, an excuse not to be around you."
Yeah, because he hates that studio upstairs. He's like, "Oh, it's fucking cramped.
It's cramped. It's annoying.
fucking,
It's gross, and it
it's
gets
hot.
everywhere. God.
It's okay. But we're doing it over here, and that's fine. We've got little. I got my little get up going. I got little, especially made get up for it. You know, got our DVDs here. Got my vinyls. Some of them got Evil Dead, Fog, whatever. And Louis got a little Christmas decoration because it's the Christmas season. Can you show the Christmas decoration, Louis? Look at that.
It's a little reindeer.
Christmassy.
It's a little reindeer. It's the only thing that I could hang from anywhere.
Yeah, and I've got my little Christmas glasses on, my reindeer glasses. Give me perfect vision. And yeah, so it's very good. But happy holidays. Happy December
holidays.
season.
Happy times.
Happy December. And because we're in the holiday season, the movie that we are reviewing is Black Christmas. That's right, the classic.
1974, baby.
And it's fantastic, and it's great, and that we're reviewing it because it's the holiday Christmassy season. But before we get to it, we have to talk about our sponsor. That's why, baby.
Right.
Raid Shadow Legends. No.
Raid.
No, not Raid Shadow Legends.
Loot Crate.
Loot Crate. I don't know if Louis can see it. I don't think he's got the presentation open on his computer. Do you have your presentation open?
I'll get it.
Do you want to get it open?
You continue.
But
you
I
go.
will talk about. I'll talk about our sponsor.
Yeah.
So our sponsor.
I'll add it all the news and stuff post. So just talk about it, and I'll add it to post.
I think our sponsor, if I'm not incorrect, is bananasanta.weebly.com. That's right. It's bananasanta.weebly.com. It's a website. It's a website. I haven't. It's a website, and you'll see it. You'll see it. It's a cool one. A sponsor made it. I still don't really know what's going to be in it because I haven't fully made it. But by the time of this video, you're going to see bananasanta.weebly.com. It's going to get you in the Christmas spirit. It's a fun little adventure. If you don't know what what our sponsors are, they're normally just fun little interactive 5-minute adventures that you can do. And there'll be a link in it in the description if you're watching this on the phone. But it's cool. bananasanta.weebly.com. Check it out. And also check out all our other sponsored videos, sponsored websites, because they're also a lot of fun too. But now we're going to go into the news of the week. That's right, the news of the week. And what a week it's been. Now, a lot of this may be old news because this video is going to come out a bit after us doing kind of the video. Us filming. It's going to come out like a week after, I think. So it's going to be old news by then. By the time you see this video, but it's cool news now, so we're going to talk about it. So the first major news, and it's awesome, it's big, and this is something that we've been waiting for a while, is that the new Scream 6 trailer, Scream VI trailer, just dropped. That's right, people. Scream 6
Should be called
trailer just dropped. Scream 6'em. And it's confirmed the New York setting. So it's very cool. It's about like a minute and 30 long. Have you seen it?
I did
Lloyd?
not watch it. I saw it, and I was like,
you did not watch it.
I'm not going to watch it.
It doesn't spoil much. It's literally just the same.
I don't want to know anything.
Okay.
I'm going to go in so blind, they're going to think I'm Blind Man McSqueezy.
Blind Man McSqueezy. Okay, well, it's a very cool. I'll say, like, do you mind if I
you can
talk about like
it.
the
You can talk about it.
non-spoilery
I don't
bits?
mind.
The non-spoilery bits, is it's cool. It's like basically set like it shows you just the scene. It doesn't show you like the plot. It's kind of an out of context scene at a New York subway station. The crew are like on a train, and it's really cool because it's like set on a Halloween night. So like, it seems like it's set on Halloween night. Like it's like New York because everybody's wearing costumes. There's someone dressed up as the Babadook. There's someone dressed up as someone from Ready or Not. There's people dressed up as Jason and Freddy or whatever like that. Everyone's like dressed up as like characters, and it's really cool. And it's like it gets you kind of in that cool Halloween spirit. And then on the train, we have our gang, and they slowly realize there's a couple people wearing Ghostface costumes, and they're like, "What's going on here?" And then something ensues a little bit. But I won't get too much into it.
Tingles. I was like, ooh.
But it's a cool trailer because it doesn't show you much. It's just literally that scene and a little
watch
jump scare.
I'm trying to get slides on my phone to look at this, but it's
that's fine. It's a little jump scare at the end, but it doesn't show you too much. But also, what should be said as well, I think, mind you, this is the set release date for Scream 6 is going to be March 10, 2023. Should put that out there. Of course, got the whole gang back. It's got all the original survivors.
Yeah.
Besides Neve Campbell, it's in it, but we've already talked about that. But it's got everyone, which is cool. It's got best actors: Sam, Tara, Mindy, all the cool characters, Chad. But yeah, they're back, and it's cool. And what also got released was an image. Have you seen the image, Laurie? The promotional image of just Ghostface. It's just Ghostface.
Yes. The mask
but Ghostface has all these strange. Is strange, and that kind of makes me think, oh, I know who this is.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's just an old mask.
It's an old mask, so you think, oh, it's an old killer.
It's an old killer.
I think
I don't want an old killer. I want a new weird guy.
Yeah,
I like seeing the new weird guy.
Do you know who would think it might? Like, I think it's, to me, it's like, oh, it's Stu. It's got to be Stu.
But
even though Stu is dead.
Telephone in his face. Like,
yeah, Stu is like...
They got his body. He is dead. TV. I feel like having Stu come back is such a retcon in the worst way.
Yeah. Although there are cool things to it. Like, imagine like Stu talking to, Billy's daughter and them like fighting it out. That shit would be kind of cool.
Yeah, but like that sounds like fan fiction. That sounds too much like a fan fiction kind of.
I feel like it's inevitable that it's gonna happen, but on the same time, who knows? Anyway,
he was too dumb to be the killer, to be smart, to be like. He was like peer pressure.
I know.
That's the only reason why he was
do that. They're still gonna do that though.
My D&D
but
boy.
I don't know. I don't mind. Anyway, the next. I mean, I do mind if they do it well. If they do it well, they do it well.
I'm not gonna complain.
But
I'm gonna be. It's Stu, so like I'm not like
it's
too
Stu.
angry.
We love Stu.
We love Stu.
But I don't even know if they're gonna actually do that. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, oh, it's gonna be an old killer.
What other killer is like could be still alive?
I also feel like it's too early to bring in Stu. Like, do a trilogy, make it like the third one that you bring back Stu.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's exciting. All right, the next bit of our news is that another trailer released. I'm sorry, I'm not too great on the news this week, but a trailer released for 65.
Oh, I saw this one.
It's a dino sci-fi horror starring Adam Driver.
This is
also funny because it's also releasing on March 10th, 2023, same as Scream.
I'm going to watch them both
it's like
on opening night. This is the shit.
Back-to-back, double feature.
This is the shit I like. Like, how fucking bonkers getting an A-list actor to be in a horror fucking dinosaur movie? Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Sam Raimi produced.
Yeah, Sam Raimi's producing it. It's starring Adam Driver. It's got the writers of one of the writers of A Quiet Place, Scott Beck, and it's and Brian Woods, and it's cool. And basically, if you don't know what it is, I'll read a little description of what the film is going to be about. It's called. It's basically about after a catastrophic crash on an unknown planet, pilot Mills, which is Adam Driver, quickly discovers he's actually stranded on Earth 65 million years ago. Now, with only one chance at rescue, Mills and the only other survivor, Koa, I don't think I'm pronouncing that right, something like that, Ariana Greenblatt, must make their way across an unknown terrain riddled with dangerous prehistoric creatures in an epic fight to survive. Awesome. So yeah, big, fun
Awesome.
sci-fi. I don't know if it's full on horror, but like it's kind of
Don't
a
care.
bit like that. Sci-fi
Awesome.
action horror.
I'm gonna watch
With
it.
dinosaurs.
I
So
wanna
check
watch
that
it.
out.
I love Adam Driver.
Yeah. All right, so next, finally on the horror news, just because I think we're a fan of this franchise, so any little bit is cool. I don't know if you've seen this,
What?
but new image released for Evil Dead Rise, which is kind of cool. It doesn't spoil much at all, but we saw like 2 images I think beforehand. One of like a Deadite, and the one of the crew, like the gang up in like the apartment where it's going to be set,
I didn't
with like a
even see
weird
that.
kind of shot. But this new image, have you seen it, Louis? Or maybe you can search it
I've not
up
seen
really
it.
quickly now. So you can, I mean, search it up now. It's not spoilery, but it's basically it's of someone floating, maybe a Deadite, maybe probably one of the main characters floating, or like standing on the water, like floating on like kind of like above like a long like lake. And it's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool image. It doesn't tell you too much, doesn't spoil too much. Have you seen it? Are you seen it, Louis?
Oh wow.
I think it's kind of cool. And we love Evil Dead.
Like
You
the
see,
images,
I love Evil Dead.
the images that are coming out of this, like even like this poster, was like this poster, like that one, that looks sick. There's a
I haven't
hand
seen
coming out of that. I think that looks awesome.
Anyway, the new image is kind of cool, and I just recently found out what the story is going to be kind of basically about.
It's going to be about Dead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly read it. So in the 5th Evil Dead film, a road-weary Beth pays an overdue visit to her older sister, Ellie, who's raising 3 kids of her own in a cramped LA apartment. So it's set in LA, it's an apartment. The sisters' reunion is cut short by the discovery of a mysterious book deep in the bowels of Ellie's building, giving rise to flesh-possessing demons and thrusting Beth into a primal battle for survival as she is faced with the most nightmarish version of motherhood imaginable. Ooh, maybe some scary kind of baby scenes. That might be terrifying. But yeah, it's a different setting. It's set in LA, in an LA apartment. So it's like, oh,
Wow.
okay.
I'm
I guess it's
excited.
cool you're doing something new. It does feel a little bit different from Evil Dead by just the sound of it. So it's like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to super feel. But hey, you need change. It's the 5th one in the
change.
franchise. Do something. And by some of the images that I've looked at, there's still some old kind of... There's someone like a floating above.
Yeah.
Like, we're still going to get some of that classic
Deadite,
Evil Dead
you know.
imagery. But it's very cool. It's very cool. It's a brand new storyline. Bruce Campbell will not be coming back.
You never know. It might be playing a French restaurant owner.
Oh, I mean, I hope. I don't know. I mean, because he
That's
would
a
have to.
Spider-Man
He would have to
reference.
be Ash. Oh yeah, right.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
but yeah. I thought I was like, that's like a weird, like
Yeah, it's,
distinctive
Spider-Man
role that you
3.
came up with, Louis.
In Spider-Man 3, where it's just like
Yeah. Anyway, that's the news that we're prepared for today. But now it's time for us to go straight into the review for Black Christmas. So we'll
Don't
see
you
you then.
go nowhere, bitch.
My chunkly. All right, it's review time for Black Christmas 1974. Not the remake, not the one after that. Strictly the
Black
original.
Jerry from Arrow. No, not that one.
Not that one. We are doing the original strictly. Before our review, we have not seen this movie. We know it's a classic among many people, but yeah. And before we get into the nitty gritty, the spoiler territory, let's just quickly do a little overview about how we feel. So, Louis, do you want to lead us off? How did you feel? Don't get too into it, but just let us know.
Cool. I think personally that it has a lot of good elements in it. I think that altogether it comes to combine into a really good film. Like, I think it's a really good and well structured, not well structured, but well thought out and well produced film. But I feel like there are a lot of maybe scripting errors or a lot of pacing that can kind of bring the whole thing down, which is unfortunate because I feel like it had a lot of possibilities. Like this movie, if it like tried to like steam down and try to really focus on its topics, it could have been absolutely perfect. But I feel like there's so much going on with this movie that is really good and fantastic. But when it's boiled down, there are a lot of things that could have been a bit harshly edited in this movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I am kind of on the same page as well, where I like this movie. I respect this movie. I totally understand the cult following for it. I totally understand why people love it. It didn't fully work for me, I think, but I do think some of its strengths are really great. Like it nails some things on the head, but I don't think it's, to me, as good as I thought it was going to be. And there were some issues, I would say a little bit, some scripting issues that left me feeling a little bit unsatisfied towards the end. But we'll get into a review, but overall I still think it's a good horror movie. But
100%.
we'll get more into it. But I think it's good. But yeah, there's a couple of issues for me as well. But of course, we always start off with our positives in our review. And Louis, would you like me to start first?
You start
or how
first.
do you feel?
You start first. I want to hear.
I'll go first.
I want to hear an outside perspective on this before I say my opinions.
An outside perspective. Okay, yeah. All right. So a big positive, I think, for me is that I think what's really cool is how they kind of directed the killer within this this movie. I think some of the directing choices were really cool. I think especially they relied heavily on those POV shots. I think some of the POV shots were really effective.
Peeping.
And mind you, I was talking to Louis beforehand. I said, when did Jaws come out? And Jaws came out in 1975, and this movie came out before Jaws, and they were doing kind of POV killer stuff. So that's a big testament to this movie. Like, wow, they were being kind of inventive. I'm sure other films have done this before.
Yeah, didn't Peeping Tom, wasn't that?
I think Peeping Tom must have. I don't know if the entire time the killer was masked like through POV, but I haven't seen that movie. I don't know, but I know that I haven't seen it either. This is cool because you always think of like the POV killer thing. You normally think of Jaws, but this came out before Jaws, and I think it was kind of even Michael Myers, but this was before that, and and it was really cool. There was some really cool shots, at the very start. He was doing kind of parkour, getting into the house, and when he was like opening up the kind of like attic,
the window
door coming down. That was like, it's really cool how they used POV. It was kind of fluid, and I think for the most part, especially also when it's like behind the sheets, like the like when they're not behind the sheets, but when like it's like someone's bedroom and there's like clotheslines.
I can't remember
his
name.
Like clothing,
the one who's like
behind plastic,
who gets the plastic around them. Yeah,
I think it's like one of the first kills, if not the first kill. I thought the way they used POV for the most part was really good to me. I think some directing choices there was really good. What do you think, Louis?
Let me get my notes and go scroll to the top. I feel like a very big positive of this movie is a lot of the characters. I feel like a lot of the characters who have motivations and reasonings, like the drunken woman drinking because of the mother, and the pregnant woman who is Jess, like our main protagonist, and even Peter being a little bitch. I like a lot of the characters, but I feel like later on it gets a bit like the actual characterizations kind of get lost a bit. But at the beginning, I feel like they had a very solid idea of what these characters were, and especially because we see less and less of them, which is I kind of wanted like more characters, but the characters that we do have in this movie, I feel like I can root for, and I root for Jess. I like Phil. That's that other woman's name, like Phil. Okay, I got confused. Then
I don't know the names.
The big curly hair woman with the glasses. She was very.
She was funny.
She was fun. There was the house mother. She was fun, and a lot of cool characters in this movie.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think also like the main kind of sergeant was kind of lieutenant.
The guy from Nightmare on Elm Street.
He was kind of cool as well. He's in Nightmare on Elm Street, so I was like, that's a recognizable face. Yeah, I think for the most part, the characters are pretty good. Obviously not all of them. I agree with you. Peter's a bastard, but
Peter's a little bitch.
I do like most characters. I think, I mean, not to a big degree, but but I think
No,
they
no, I
definitely
just feel like
don't
it
completely
could've-
feel like caricatures or
Yeah,
just
I feel like it could have been like a
stereotypes.
Friday the 13th, where like some of the characters, I'm just like, I don't know or care who you are, but like at least like they gave her urgency of like she's pregnant, and then the phone calls are talking about her pregnancy, and she's like, get it out of the root, or like a sore or whatever. And I was
Like a wart,
like,
like
a
a
wart.
wart.
I was like, see, it's like her character and her motivation is connected to the plot, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I enjoy this. Like, this is like actually giving her urgency, even though all of the other characters kind of get sidelined, like especially the drunk woman. But like, at least there's a reason for her to get drunk because of the pressure from her mother. Because at the start week, she gets a phone call from her mum, and I feel like that's like at least a tell towards her character.
I think.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the characters are pretty like not nuanced, but like I mean,
They're at
there's
least
like probably
good,
issues being
you know?
told in this movie. There's they're talking about issues around like abortion, alcoholism, stuff like that. It's kind of it adds a little bit more social commentary to what could just be a simple slasher film, even though slasher films weren't really big during the day, weren't really a thing. But I will say, I guess it's a good part on this movie that they do try to tackle some issues, make some characters more nuanced. Even Peter, who I don't love, he still kind of was nuanced. He had motivations, to be a great pianist, and that
I did. I really enjoyed. I'm really enjoyed.
It feels more nuanced.
Yeah, even though I have a somewhat negative about some of those scenes, I feel like I did enjoy Peter's, like, just even him playing the piano piece. I feel like that kind of goes into, I enjoy this movie. I feel like this movie kind of goes without genre. Like, it's a horror, thriller, and drama, but like, while I'm watching,
there's a bit of comedy in there as well.
It's got comedy. So like, while I'm watching it, it isn't really defined by a single genre. Like, I could like see a whole bunch of different aspects and avenues this movie went through, and I kind of liked how like genre-less it was, because there was scenes with Peter, and I was like, how does this have to do with anything? I don't know, but I kind of like it. Like, I don't know. I just kind of enjoyed how like genre-less a lot of these scenes were.
Yeah, I guess
to me.
I mean, I feel kind of mixed up. It feels kind of mixed to me in that way. Like, I like it because it makes it more kind of like homey when watching this film. Like, I feel like the characters, they kind of like talk like normal people, and there's a bit of comedy and like laughs between them and smiles, and that's kind of nice. But on the same time, there's like certain characters within the film, and I'll talk about it in my negatives. I won't talk too much about now. That I feel like maybe they were too comic reliefy, that it kind of took away from this being kind of a horror movie. So I couldn't fully kind of. I kind of felt a bit like weird with it. But
I know exactly.
For the most part, I think the film for the most part was kind of made a nice kind of homey feel, and that connects to another positive that I want to get into, which is that I kind of like the atmosphere that was created in this movie. I really felt that kind of. Like, I felt like I was watching a movie where the whole town was kind of part of it. It was a big kind of like Christmassy. I know it was set during like Christmas, but it felt, even when like there was like certain scenes where there's people going out on the hunt, looking for like a missing lady. Even when like the two guys were at the door of the
I like that part
of the lady's place. When the little things about like, there's a murder going around the town, and there's them staying at home and like talking about it, I feel like that kind of sets up kind of a cool kind of atmosphere where the whole town's like trying to hunt down this killer, and this kind of feels like a homely atmosphere where like it feels not so like disconnected from everything. Like, everyone feels, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain. Like, it's kind of it just has a cool kind of atmosphere where you feel like there's larger things going on, and you can kind of hear about the larger things, but it's even though it's still set during like a smaller setting. I don't know. There was just a nice atmosphere, kind of warm atmosphere.
That goes into kind of some of my.
That was good.
My positives. I liked how it felt. It felt very bottled, like a bottle, like it was just in the house, but it also had so many other parts, like so many other scenes and so many other locations, but it still felt isolated. Like, it still felt like there was still like pressure, and there was still isolation within these characters and within the places we were, because every time we went to a place, it wasn't like a big big shot. There weren't many like wide shots of any other places except for of the house. So it felt very isolated, even though we had a lot of locations, and I really liked the vibe of that whole situation.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll go into another one of my positives, like an actual positive. I loved the phone calls, but especially the first one. I loved it so much. At the beginning, I was like, this is kind of funny, but I was just like, okay, like the phone calls that they get, like from Billy or whatever, I don't know. Like I was like, this is kind of funny, but then after like a second, I was like, the funniness went out of me, and I was just like, oh shit, this is fucking dark, especially like when they went to each shot of each of the women, and like how derogatory and how like the first calls, especially like how derogatory and like unsettling the words were, especially to these women, and it was the 70s, so it was like even worse. And like these, like he's saying the C word and all these bad words that like in the 70s are like awful, like extreme, you know. So like and like him laughing at the end of like laughing at his own insults and his own intense vocabulary, and then at the very end going serious, I'm going to kill you, and then hanging up. It just sets the whole movie from that tone. Like it sets up that whole part, and I just like it. All the other phone calls were great as well. I really enjoyed all the other phone calls, but I feel like that first phone call was just perfection in its execution and in its writing and in its pacing of how going to each character was just so. It just like at the start, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of funny," and then I was kind of lost that. I got stuck in the moment of how serious this, and my brain just went, "Wow, women in the 70s, imagine being called this," because like the C word, Australia, we use it all the fucking time, but like you know, like but in America in the 70s or Canada, wherever this was filmed, it wasn't very common, and it's a very derogatory term for women at the time, like especially when he was like saying like talking about their genitals and all that stuff. It was just like, this is gross. I don't like it. It really set up killer.
I felt uncomfortable as well.
Yeah
I mean I felt pretty uncomfortable as well. I mean I kind of liked a lot of the later phone calls, I think, just because the first one was so uncomfortable, and I know I was aiming for but it was just so gross. But I think, I agree with you. I think the phone calls were quite scary to me. I think especially when, you know, he's like acting like a child, or he's like talking about like, oh, it's me, Billy, and he's acting like a child, and it's like, you know, we have to kill the child, we have to like kill it like a wart. That's like, that kind of really scared me.
Because it's like, how does he know all these words? Effective. It's obvious, but like, you know, you could think of
and I think the phone calls definitely were quite scary, and they were tense, and you can probably tell when listening to it. He's listening. He can hear the conversations. That's why he's referring to it. But it was quite scary, and it was quite tense, and it played with. And I'll get into this, I guess, a little bit with the theater of the mind, where you don't know what's exactly going on the other end of the phone. Like you hear the screams.
Is it multiple people?
The victims,
is it not multiple people?
Yeah,
you know,
like sometimes you can't tell. Like, is he torturing like one of the victims that we saw earlier, or is he like making up the voice? Like it's scary, and it is scary. It's really tense, and I think that's one of the biggest positives for this film is these phone call scenes that kind of make it unique. And it is, they are quite scary. They are quite tense, and it does play into another positive that I want to get into, the kind of theater of the mind aspect, where this film relies a lot on like not showing you everything. But, you know, maybe you hear it through these phone calls, like screaming and like, you know, all these weird voices. I mean, I loved going to like directing, because I'm now just going to pivot now to another positive of mine, is that what I also love with the theater of the mind is that there's a lot of cool shots in here where, you know, he's masked in shadow. Like, for example, when he was like holding the hook, you know, up in the attic, where you can see his hands on the hook. That's really scary. And I really do like the concept where like you don't fully know what's going on. Like you don't fully see all these like murder sequences, but you can tell something horrible is happening. You can tell something's horrible with him, and you imagine like what is going on. And I think that's really cool about this film is that this out of any film I've seen is probably one of the biggest like theater of the mind experiences, where you're like, what is going on? It's scary. It's also, especially like with the ending, I think it still kind of plays with a bit of the theater of the mind. Do you mind if I talk a little bit about the ending of what I liked about it?
No, yeah, you can go to the ending.
Yeah, I think what was really cool about the ending, I know I feel a little bit mixed on it.
Same.
But I also kind of like it, where like the ending is like really like dark and cool because like spoilers obviously because we're now talking about it. You find out that Peter isn't the killer. You kind of realize that the killer's still there. Yeah. Billy's still in the attic, and
which was obvious for me. I'll get
into that.
Yeah,
I'll get into that because I like that bit. I feel a bit mixed about. But what was really scary is that he's in the attic still, and that our main lady is like in her bed, and we don't see what happens to her. All we kind of hear is like a phone call coming from the house, and you could leave that as any way you like.
Yeah.
That could just mean that who's that phone call coming from? But for me, probably for you as well, probably for most people, we're thinking, oh, she must have been killed, and that's why he's calling.
Yeah.
And that is such a kind of cool ending. It's like, oh shit, is that what happened? But you don't know. Like you don't know. There's no kill scene. There's no her like being attacked. But it leaves you on that ambiguous note, that kind of theater of the mind where you don't know, like, fuck, did he just go down and kill her? Like, and that's intense. That's intense. And a lot of people have different theories. A lot of people might go like, no, it's all fine. That could be a phone call from someone else. But it's that kind of cool ending that even at the end you feel unsettled. Even at the end you don't know exactly what's going on. But I will get into the ending because I don't fully love it, and I'll get to that.
Yeah,
in the negatives.
Yeah.
Any other positives that you have before we maybe move on to... I have a few
more positives of...
negatives?
I love the directing, camera work, and in the audio. I love the man in the police station who breaks down laughing at the guy, even though it was kind of out of nowhere. But I love... He's just a different sergeant next to the lieutenant, and he just breaks down laughing. I love that guy. It felt like a blooper.
Sure.
It felt... Yeah, I talked about that before. The reveal, even though the reveal of it coming from the house is not my favorite because it's like doesn't really make sense. Like, wouldn't you be able to hear them? But then like, the idea of it, I feel like it gets me more of like, like I feel like this is a common thing nowadays where like it's like, oh, the killer was there the whole time. That always happens like now. But like I felt like back then, like it was so much more of a twist. Of like, oh shit, the killer was in the house the whole time. Even though we knew that, like for the characters to finally not feel safe in their own home, and the idea of the calls coming from the house, because like from that point, it's like, how is he making these phone calls? Like, where does he have this phone? Like, we don't know where this phone is, even though like I still don't really know exactly where the phone is. I think it's in the mother's den or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they showed. I think
they show it, but like they only say they have two phones, except for the one in the mother's den.
Well, anyway, I think the idea must have just gone down to that phone.
Yeah, the idea of it is very cool. I think it's in the mother's den. The idea of it. Also,
yeah, I agree with you. I just want to quickly build on that. I agree with you. I think for me, the final like 20 minutes of the movie is just really good. Like I really love. I love that because that scene is like really intense when she finds out, and the cops are trying to get to her, and the cop is like, "You got to get out of the house" and stuff like that. I think that was really tense, and I think that was really good.
Also, I love how
I thought that was the strongest part of the film, in my opinion, was that like final last act or 20 minutes.
Yeah. I love how the lieutenant's like, "Nash, if you fuck this up, I'm going to kill you." Favorite part of the movie. I talked about the isolation. All scenes with the killer, especially when Jess finds the body, and then him in the crack of the door and just his eyeball, and then he just slowly fades back. That shit's fucking creepy because he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, there's some really great shots in this.
He doesn't react. He just stays there and kind of goes. it kind of goes back and she pushes it, and he's still whispering under his breath, like he can't control it. It's like it's creepy. And my last
There's
big
some really
positive,
really good shots.
and the first big positive, the subtle and non in your face scares of like not every scare was like in your face and like blah, this is a scare. It felt like it lets the stress build and stay within you when there wasn't a massive orchestral string. It kind of kept subtle.
Yeah, and before we move on to the negatives, I just want to say a couple of things. Yeah, the kill sequences were great, I think, in my opinion. When they were there, for the most part, they were good, except for some that some of them that were like off screen. But like there's really iconic moments within the film,
like realizing the
especially
police
with that
officer.
shot when he,
with the unicorn.
when he comes in with the spiky.
The unicorn is my favorite kill. The unicorn is my favorite kill.
We all know how iconic that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of cool stuff. Interesting themes, great directing. The use of shadows, great. Yep. So, but now
the reveal of the
we'll
killer.
move on to...
Yeah.
All right. So now it's time for us to talk about our negatives. And I think, because we were talking about this earlier, I'll just start off with one. I think there are moments within the film where there was like certain like comic relief like characters or like moments that I don't think fully fit to me. Like they were an enjoyable watch. Like the main character that I'm really talking about is, I forgot, Nash. Is that it? Yeah, Nash, the cop. I think he's fine on his like. I think it's kind of, he's alright. Like he has like nice like kind of funny moments. But to me, I feel like kind of him being the comic relief character and us kind of knowing he's a comic relief character, and there's like certain moments where he's playing as the comic relief character that it kind of took away from the horror of the movie to me. Like for example, like
it's meant to be really intense and the whole scenario is meant to be thrilling, and then suddenly we're like, haha, joke. Anyway, back to the scare. And I feel like even in that final like 20 minutes, that really tense like moments where like it was his job to go like tell her to slowly like leave the house without saying, hey, there's someone in there. Although I think that scene was tense, I just think that like him making a mistake was like, oh, it's a comic relief character making a mistake that kind of just took away from me. I think
I don't know,
that can be taken as serious as well and not just funny, because like of course he's got this girl on the phone that's like, oh yeah, like I'll just get my friends who's upstairs sleeping, and he's like, no, there's someone in the house. Like, because like she's just like, oh yeah, I'll just get my friends, and he's like, no, go out by yourself. And I feel like he just doesn't have the constitution or have the foresight to not say anything.
Yeah.
So like, it can be funny, but it could be taken as this guy just really just.
Oh,
like,
of course.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like I felt just a bit. There was like some moments throughout the film as well, not even just his character, that it had like comedy that didn't feel like it suited the kind of the dark turn of the film, because it's a very dark, not very dark film, but like it kind of is to a degree.
Dark film, yeah.
And even then, even when there's like that scene where it was like two random search party people knocking on the door and acting all, I don't know, whatever, and kind of laughing as they leave. I don't know. It wasn't bad, but it just kind of took away from how dark and serious this film could have been. Although I do think, it's good that it's embracing some kind of elements. But I'm not
sure if we recorded this part, but I remember like I really liked that scene because like at the end of it, it was like, oh yeah, let's knock on the door, and then suddenly, like they realized that like, oh shit, this is the only locked door we have, like that. The comedic part turned into a dark part, so I was fine with that one.
Okay, but do you have any issues with the comedy stuff, or do you think it's fine?
No, I have the same issues. Like I feel like kind of like pointless comedy, I guess. No, that kind of fits with the character, because the one with the poster with the old lady flipping them off, like that's meant to like show how the father is like kind of like not comfortable with her daughter being here because of this crude things, and she's trying to hide the poster of the hippies, like. So like I feel like that fits the point of the father. But I think all the things you said about Nash, I did like the part where the police officer just started laughing his ass off at the phone number. Not the whole scene. I think the scene could have just ended and not had the whole part when Nash is like, it's a crude thing, isn't it? And then police officers laughing at him. I didn't need all that. I could have just had the officer laughing in the background, and that's the whole thing. But no, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, and also building off that, like I don't find it too bad, but there were like sometimes like there's like lots of like sexual kind of like undertones and like kind of what's the word for it, where it's a bit like icky or like I'm not sure how to describe it, but I put this in my mixed category because I have nothing really like against it, but also it feels a bit weird in this film. It's just when there's like lots of like kind of gross like kind of undertones, like everything's kind of there's like sexual artwork everywhere, and there's like some kind of sometimes even with that like rude nanny photo collage, like I thought it was kind of funny, but I don't know, it just felt a bit like they're trying to be kind of rude. This film is like trying to be as rude as it can be, that I don't think it fully kind of I don't think it fully kind of fit with me, especially with that character who's like drunk all the time and is like always acting rude and always saying sexual stuff. I have nothing against her, but I don't know, maybe I wasn't ready for all the stuff, but I have nothing against it. I don't know. I just feel like sometimes it could have been too heavy-handed on some of the sexual rudeness, but on the same time, that's kind of also what makes the film unique. I don't know. I put it in my mixed category. Mixed. Like I have nothing against it, but I also feel kind of like not weird about it. But I just feel like, but on the same time, it's alright. But that's just in my mix. Like it's not a full on negative, but I don't know. What's a negative of yours, Louis?
One of my biggest negatives is how the film kind of just like doesn't really. I don't really know what it is. It's not a whodunit, It's like I wrote like it's hard to tell if it's being a whodunit or really what the point of some of the scenes are, and scenes are and for plot points as the characters' motivations and anger soon becomes weird, as we all know the killer is in the roof, and on the phone, so we know it's not Peter. Like it's not Peter. Like I the whole time I was like it's not Peter. There's no way Peter could be doing this. So the character's like going like, and then like that whole plot point of could Peter be the killer is like more than halfway through the movie. So it's like most of the movie is searching for the girl, and then like it's like, oh okay, like it's not a whodunit. It's just this like weird thing like where is the killer? But then it becomes a whodunit.
Yeah,
and I'm like. And like all the characters are like it's Peter, but like as audience, I'm not like it's not Peter. I'm not telling the characters it's not Peter. I'm kind of distracted, like it's not Peter. Like I feel like like the film was trying to convince me, like, hey, it's Peter. I'm like, no.
I mean, there were moments that I was like, oh, it could be Peter, because like if I'm looking at the killer, or like that scene when he has like the unicorn stuff, he looks like Peter. Like he's got the same eyes, he's got the I know, but he's got the same kind of hair. He's got the same kind of hair as Peter. I'm like, oh, that could very well be Peter.
But that guy's been in the roof the whole movie.
Yeah, I know, but on the same time,
Peter was doing a piano recital across the way.
I know, but on the same time, we did see at the start of the film, how he can easily get up to the attic and how he can probably get out of the attic. Yeah. But I wasn't like, I knew that like, oh, it's too obvious to be Peter, so it's not Peter. But there were like moments where like I was like, oh, okay, it could very well be Peter. But on the same time, then it's not really that great of a whodunit if they're doing like a whodunit. Yeah. Like it's you only give us like one option.
Yeah, and I don't know if it even is a whodunit. Like I can't categorize it.
I will say, and I'm going to connect to this with kind of the ending. Like, I thought it was kind of cool that, they got the one guy, it isn't Peter. Yeah. But then I kind of felt like, this is kind of pointless. So it's just like a random guy. It's just a random killer. When you kind of were making a film. The whole movie was kind of like, is it a whodunit? It's like, it doesn't, I feel like it didn't really know what it was. And it kind of just kind of annoyed me. Because I was like, it's just some random guy, is it? Okay.
I feel like that is a cool ending if it's like if it goes more into that thing and not just like, oh, it's Peter at the end. And like that storyline only happens like when there's half an hour left. So it crams in all this, it's Peter, it's not Peter, end movie. And it's like, if
Yeah,
this was
but-
like the
yeah.
whole movie, is it Peter? Then like at the end when it's revealed it's not Peter, even if it's really obvious that's not Peter, at least the whole movie would have been trying to get that point across and not be at the very end of it of like,
I guess so.
it's Peter.
But even then, like even then, there were like scenes where
No,
I'm
I'm
like,
just saying
oh,
it'll be
Peter's coming down the
better.
stairs. That I'm like, oh, they're setting up to easily be Peter. But it's just like, I don't know. It
Yeah,
felt
that's
like
what I mean.
felt
That's at like the very end of the movie, you know?
yeah,
It's-
I feel like they. But I also felt like, oh, if you're not going to do like the whodunit, is it Peter? Give us like, I don't love the fact that it is just literally some random guy and he
Yeah.
has like no
Like, who is it?
explanation.
Like, what is
of
the motivation?
why he's
What is-
there. Yeah, like give
Yeah.
us like something, like maybe like a story about there was a guy named Billy, whatever, or like maybe there's like some kind of just some kind of backstory. Not a lot, but
Yeah.
just something, because it kind of just felt like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so it's just some random guy. And I just felt really underwhelmed by the end of it.
Yeah,
Like I was okay.
I like the mystery of like he's saying like Billy and doing all that weird shit of like weird nonsense story, and like I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like none of the characters know what's going on. We don't know what's going on, and then like this guy's just spewing random nonsense. I'm like, that's really cool. But the movie just ends with just like nothing. Like it ends with Peter
Yeah.
being called the villain, and then it ends with just the guy still living in the rooftop, and it just feels like, oh, that was it. Like the whole, it didn't
Yeah.
feel like they did a twist or they made that plot point actually
Yeah.
like a through line to something creative or like kind of cool. It just kind of like just stayed and plateaued through the whole movie, and like, okay, that guy was just a guy, a crazy guy.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the mystery of like this guy. No one has no idea. No one. We don't know who it is. I kind of enjoy that.
Yeah,
I
and
kind of
I
do.
get that. Yeah.
I kind of do
I guess
enjoy
that-
that.
yeah.
I kind of do enjoy that. Like, I don't know who the backstory of Billy.
Yeah.
Or who that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
Like, that can
cool.
be-
But the movie
yeah.
just ends. Like, if the movie had a better ending, maybe I'd appreciate this abruptness of this random story, and maybe if it had a better like it made Peter or made a different character seem more like this other character. I don't know. It just felt like
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that until the end, where it was like, oh, it felt pointless.
Yeah, I mean, I also agree with you that like, yeah, we don't have to fully know the backstory of Billy or whatever like that. I think there is a bit of like oh, what could it be? We can just imagine,
Yeah.
who is this Billy character with the little stuff that we've heard of. But I will say that it kind of felt like, oh, okay, some random guy,
Yeah.
and it just kind
It
of
felt
felt a bit like
disconnected.
underwhelming.
Like the story felt so personal, you know? It felt so
Yeah.
personal. Of like this guy is saying rude and crude things to these women, and they're making them feel uncomfortable and vulnerable, and like all that stuff in the pregnancy story with Peter, and then just realizing like, oh, the killer is just a random guy saying I'm going to kill you and being creepy. I'm just like, oh, it just kind of loses
Yeah, I mean,
its
yeah.
personal touch of this character. There's a story, and I'm just like left with like, oh, it literally is a faceless killer who has no anything. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully hate the
Yeah.
the complete ending. Like, I like the phone call bit at the end, like, oh god, is she dead or whatever like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But yeah,
Also,
I
the police
will agree with
officer
that
doesn't
point.
pick up the phone. The police officer just stays outside while the phone is ringing. I find that
Yeah,
funny.
I mean, Peter's been, he's dead.
I know, but
it's
there's
all
a phone
good,
call.
man. It's
The
all
police
good.
officer should
no,
pick it
no,
up.
it's not. It's nothing. It's
It's
nothing.
fine. It's fine.
Anyway, well, okay, cool. So I'll move on to another one.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if this is like a full blown bad negative.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you would agree at all, but I felt like the movie kind of started too quickly for my taste. I don't know. I don't know if you probably didn't feel this, but I felt like the movie, like, I know other films like Halloween already starts with like a kill sequence at the start, but to me, I felt like, oh, I would have loved. I don't know. I felt a bit icky to me. This isn't a full on negative. This is kind of more of like a little nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I feel like it would be cool. It would have been really cool if we just like established the characters and the setting first or whatever like that. But I feel like right at the start we're already in like Billy's perspective as he hops
Yeah.
over the fence and gets into the house. That it kind of feels a bit like, like it feels like I don't know. I would have liked there to be more of an establishment of the atmosphere of the characters, the setting of Christmas Day, and they kind of do that. But it's always like intercut straight away at the start with like Billy like hopping over stuff and hopping in and POVing and going through. And I was like, I didn't mind it, but I felt like it just started way to me. I just would have liked an establishment of like character setting first, so we get the mood, and then it happens. Like I don't think we even. I mean, I guess we did need to see that he goes into the attic, but on the same time, I think that kind of takes away a little bit from the phone call. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we could have just had the phone call first, and we didn't need to see him like struggle to get into upstairs.
I feel like maybe
the
not
attic.
have the. First
I feel like
POV
that kind of takes
of him
away
going to the attic and just having the phone call, and then we realize it's from inside the house.
Because like I don't think we need to see him like be outside and him getting into the house and then the call coming from the house. Like I feel like that took a little like it had some great shots.
It feels disconnected. It's like he's in the house, but he's also making a phone call.
Yeah. And now knowing that he's just like some random guy is kind of makes it funny to me. Like he's just like I'm gonna go in there.
Like why is he jumping in this house?
I don't know. It just felt like it maybe would have been scarier if he just started with that phone call, and because I don't think we needed to see him hopping into that. Yes, we need to establish that the attic is like his main place, but we don't. I don't think he establishes that it's his main place. We just see him like go up into the attic and then go downstairs. Like we don't see him. But I don't know. But on the same time, we do need to establish straight from the start that this is the killer's kind of POV, and I get that.
Yeah, but maybe
like, this is what we're going to be seeing.
You could have started the movie with his POV, but he's just peeping through windows, and then we go into the house and not have him do the whole climbing the thing,
the whole parkour,
and him going.
I think it's impressive filmically. Like I feel filmically, you doing that is impressive, and I don't hate it, but it kind of maybe makes the killer more human. Kind of makes him more like, it's just it's a guy doing it. Like I don't know, that may be the point, but I felt like it was just a little bit less scary, and it kind of just started right away. Like this is the killer. You're looking at the POV of the killer, and I'm sure other films do that. Like yes, Halloween did that, but that on the same time that did that to serve a purpose. You were like, it's a child. What the hell? We never would expect that. And like that felt like purposeful, and that wasn't that. And then that was kind of that was like separate. Like that was just like a opening kind of scene.
Yeah,
that also isn't necessarily the rest of the film. And yes, Jaws does that as well, but it's like. I don't know.
Also, having the killer jump through the window at the start and like be in the attic, and then later on in I think the same like area, Jess gets a phone call from Peter going like, "Hey, I'm like just finished piano. I'm tired. I've just been doing this for 3 days." Like again, like establishing that like we've seen the killer jump through a window and do all that crazy shit, and then have Peter call from the other thing. It could be misdirect, but also it kind of goes into like it's like it's showing your cards too early. It's like showing like this is it's like going like it's like if they showed of like the shark in Jaws, like a wide shot of the shark, and then did the POV of the shark. It's like, well, we know it's a creepy shark, like we see it. The POV is not as scary anymore, So I don't know.
Sure, yeah. Anyway, I just for some reason for me, I just felt like the start kind of just happened too fast, and the whole like POV jumping into the just felt like I don't know. It just took it was cool. I think it's cool and impressive, but this is more like of a nitpick. Like I'm fine this being the start, but like I think I don't know. It just took away a little bit from establishing a kind of an atmosphere and the characters first, because it feels like now this film is about the killer, not really about the characters, because that's a kind of one of the first things we see is that POV. And I feel like this film, it's more about the main protagonist lady than Jess. And I also have like a small nitpick on Jess. Well, I'm just gonna say it now because like it's such a tiny nitpick. At the start, like she was like shouting all her lines, and that kind of like bugged me a little bit. She was like, she wasn't like that, but
hello.
She was like, hello. There's someone here. Who are you? It's like, that kind of bugged me out. I was like, but I
just like all of her acting comes from her voice. She's just like, hello, hello, and it's just like this really great.
So, I can't
British
hear
accent.
you. I can't
Everyone,
hear you.
shut
It's like-
up! The party's over.
it was just too loud. I was like, oh god,
Yeah.
oh. But that's just a nitpick. That's just a nitpick.
No,
All right, what's another?
my
what's
mine
another thing
kind
you
of
have?
my next like is kind of involves like the movie starting too soon. I feel like a lot of this movie, a lot of scenes could just be cut out. Like a
Okay,
lot
yeah.
of like it feels like there's pointless plot points. There's some pointless like character motivation, and there's some pointless like scenes. That's like it makes the film more fun, and it makes the scene more full in a way. But I feel like there are a lot of scenes that just like it just serves no purpose. Like technically seeing like the whole dead 13-year-old in the park. Like it's cool. Like it adds like, oh, there's a dead 13-year-old in the park. Like, did the guy kill her? Why did the guy kill her? I don't know. It's just a dead 13-year-old, and it adds like the search party element. But you could have that whole search party element with the girl who dies in the attic. Like, there's really like, I don't know. It kind of feels like there's not an extreme point to it. I feel like an argument could be made that like mob mentality or something. I don't know. Like there could be an argument that's like
Evil dies
or something.
tonight.
I don't know. Yeah, like,
Michael, evil dies tonight.
There could be an element that could be argued that it's actually like it's a metaphor, or like it's like talking about how useless the police are, and like I don't know. It just, to me, watching the movie, it kind of like a lot of time goes into that, and it just becomes an excuse for characters not to be places. And there's also scenes of people talking and interacting that just like are completely useless and just for comedy, like the comedy bits. Like, not that they weren't funny, it's just they just weren't really there. And I feel like this movie could have been like, this movie was like almost 2 hours long, and like it's like an hour and 43 minutes, and I'm like, this movie could have been a breezy an hour and a half. Like, it could have been so much shorter and so much a tighter script. But then it just adds all these points and characters and scenes, and I'm like, this is it could have been so much like sidelined. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't have too many other negatives, to be honest.
Let's see if I do. Oh yeah, I didn't like the score.
The score.
I didn't love it, because it just like a character would be talking and it would just be like, hey guy, brr. I'm like, oh. Like the score would just like come out of nowhere in a scene that didn't need it, and like the score was just the same. I mean, like the main like score, maybe there's like more diegetic.
I mean,
non-diegetic
I didn't notice it. I didn't necessarily notice.
It was literally
anything
just
wrong with the
like
score.
a piano just going do 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 in the background, and then like it would just happen. I'm like, this isn't a creepy scene. Why is there this piano music? And it would just like, and it's the exact same like chord progression every time, and I'm just like, it just got repetitive, and I got bored of it.
Okay.
You know, there's like the plot doesn't really get progressed. It's people just kind of sit around until there's a phone call. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any like stakes or like people doing anything. There's not like a search that is going to accomplish anything. There's not like a character that's actually going to accomplish anything, except for when the phone calls, because we ultimately know that the killer's in the attic. So this feels like there's a lot of needless scenes and points and middling, and a lot of similar scenes that like feel unnecessary. And how can the killer not be heard?
Maybe it's in the attic and it's very soundproof.
Because like they say like the killer is in the mother's den, is taking the phone call from that house, which I think is from where the mother in the den sleeps, because it's we see it's from that point of view. But then like, so he has to do that, fucking parkour back into the house, seen by no one, and then kill a person conveniently while Carol is singing. It just feels like a lot of convenient plot devices to go like, hey, this killer can't be seen, and like this killer can't be heard, even though he's screaming and like making all these like noises. I don't know, far-fetched.
All right, well, that's all the negatives for me. Is that all the negatives for you?
That's pretty much all the negatives for me.
Cool. Let's rate this baby, and I honestly don't even know what I'm gonna give it. So
I feel like there's so much good and like great stuff in this movie, but it's let down by a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the stuff I do give like a negative towards is stuff that I can just like
I can look past.
Like, to be honest,
Yeah,
I can look past. Like, to be honest, like, it's besides like maybe the whole ending with like Billy and stuff like that, where it does kind of feel a little bit pointless.
yeah.
A lot of the stuff, like the comedy, like, is fine. It's still fun. Yeah, it's taken away from the horror, but it's like it's still fun to me, and it's like a lot of this I can just give it the benefit of the doubt. I think it's fine.
It's
so
like,
for that reason, okay, yeah, actually, you go.
No, it's like
What
how
were you
like
saying?
I have more negatives for this movie than other movies that I would put in this category of this ranking, because like like Scream 5, I like that movie is just good to me. But like I don't have as much negatives in that movie than this one. But this movie, there has a lot more like actual like, oh shit, that's really good. Like actual like really good moments, but some stuff that brings it down to like an even. So So I'm still
I don't know.
not sure.
I still don't. Yeah, I don't fully know what to give this film.
I think if I watch it again and I feel like it's like I could watch this again. And like it could be a yearly Christmas tradition to watch this Black Friday movie.
I'm bound to like this movie more upon rewatch. I don't even know what I'm gonna give it. I honestly don't. I came unprepared. Lou, do you want to go? And then maybe that might sway my opinion. What are we gonna give it?
I think right now.
Oh wait, should we do the rating system first? So if you guys. I'll quickly, If you don't know what the rating system is, I'll just quickly say it now. At the very bottom, we have shit show. This is like 0 stars, basically. Then above that, we have Borsnell, get out the door, which a shit show is just basically it's horrible. We hate it. There's nothing good about it. Then Borsnell, get out the door is basically like, it's boring. It's not that great. It's really kind of basic, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We don't love it, but. And we might leave the theater. I don't think we'll leave the theater, but it's just not great. Then above that is Disappointment. Am I correct? Disappointment.
Book Appointment for Disappointment.
Which is Book Appointment for Disappointment, which basically is that like it's a film that could have been great. It had a lot of elements that could have made it like a decent film, but there's so much going against it. And maybe we thought it could have been a lot more than what it is, but it just turned out being a kind of mixed, not great experience, even though it could have been so good. And then above that, it's fun. So this is a film that it's good. It's flawed, but it's still a fun experience no matter what. It's not the best of the best, but it's a decent watch, and it's just fun. You can put it on. Then above that is Fantastically Splendid, where this is like just a great horror movie. It's a fantastic horror movie. Definitely go and watch it. It's worth it. It's not perfect. It's not a masterpiece, but it definitely is a great one, and it's definitely worth a watch, and it's just good. And then above that is Classic / Masterpiece, which is basically our 5 stars, where we think this film is just awesome. It's near flawless. It's gonna be a classic for years to come, or it already kind of is a classic, and it's a film that we just love and we think is almost flawless. It's just so good, and we love it. So that being said, I still don't even know what I'm gonna give it. But Louis,
let me try to. Okay,
I think I know what I'm gonna give mine.
Okay,
I'll give it. At the start, like for the first like half of the movie, I was like, okay, this is just like hey, it's fun because it's just kind of like. I don't love it too much. There's a couple of flaws that's kind of peeking out at me. But there's no doubt that final act or the last 30, 40 minutes, it did feel tense. The atmosphere was great. It felt really cool. And even the ending, although I don't love that it's just some random guy, did kind of leave you on this cool, ambiguous note that with the phone call that I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. Yeah, and it still is impressive. Like I've got to think about back at the time.
Yeah, it's 74.
There's a lot
it's
of stuff that's
before all of
revolutionary
like
here.
We say like, oh, it's not a good whodunit, but like there weren't really like this kind of whodunits.
I mean, it's better. I don't know. There were just still filmically, it's great, and I think it's still impressive. So I'm gonna give it a Fantastically Splendid. I think. For me, I still, it's not perfect, but even then, the major flaws I have with the film, besides kind of the ending, I can still be that's okay. I can still be like, that's all right.
I'll give it a low, Fantastically Splendid. Like it's like, it's like almost like a hey, it's fun and a half, but like I feel like it's just like so much like good horror in it. I'm like, yeah, just fantastically splendid. Yeah.
Yeah, I still think there's some bits in that where I'm like, this is impressive.
Yeah.
And I gotta give it its due. All right, that is our rating. But before you go, and thank you for watching, we've got to do a little quiz for the week. That's right, our quiz for the week. All right, so it's time now to do our quiz, which is very exciting. So the quiz that we asked you last week, I think was that like we asked you like what town or what like state or what area, because I don't know how America works. Where was the Blair Witch Project set? And we gave you like a list of I think towns or states, areas. But the answer was Maryland. So if you guessed that, congratulations, you get 10 points. You grab it, no one else gets it. Put it in your pocket.
Keep it for
10
later.
points is yours, buddy. Keep it for later. Share it with your friends. Don't do that. It's yours. Basically, now we have the question I'm going to ask you for this week is it's got to do with Black Christmas. And during the casting process, here's the question: which actor that we may very well know now was offered the role of Peter but turned it down? Let me list you 4 people. It's a multiple choice.
Ashton Kutcher.
We got. That was one of them. No. Okay, so we have. Is it A, Malcolm McDowell, B, Dustin Hoffman, C, Victor Garber, or D, Donald Sutherland? There you go. Those are your 4 options. One of these people turned it down. Who? Louis, do you have a little guess, or who do you think it is?
Donald Sutherland.
You think it's Donald Sutherland? All right. Lock in your guesses. And we'll see you next week on the Horror Herald. Probably in person.
In person, probably.
Actually, we won't see you we won't see you for a while, actually.
Yeah, this is the last episode for the year and most of January.
Might very well be the last episode of the year. So
this boy, that one, is going.
I'm underneath you on my screen.
Oh,
but yes, anyway, I'm in Europe. I'm going to Europe.
He's going to Europe.
I'm going to Europe. But hopefully this releases somewhere close to the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And we wish you, from the Horror Herald, from the bottom of our hearts, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, Merry Hanukkah, Merry Zanu, Merry other holidays. Merry holidays.
No, if you don't celebrate Christmas, who gives a shit about you? It's just another day.
It's
just another day.
Spend it like any other day.
Who gives a crap?
Who cares about Christmas?
For the cool Christmas guys, from all the people out there. If you're from another religion, bless you. Happy holidays at least.
To everyone. It doesn't matter what you celebrate. Have fun time with your family and friends because it's the holiday. Everyone's off work and school. It doesn't matter what celebrations happen. Celebrate yourself and your friends and family.
And blessed be the Lord.
Blessed be the Lord.
We're going to reveal to you. You guys did not know this, but we're actually a Christian channel.
We're a Christian channel podcast.
Massive reveal. Massive
guys.
reveal. You may not know this, but
it's been hinting at you this whole time.
Look back at our videos.
Look at this. You'll see propaganda everywhere.
Look at this. Look at this. Look back at your video. Look back at our videos, and you will know that there's subliminal Christian messaging.
You'll see Jesus.
There's moments of like, blessed be the Lord, blessed be the Lord, and you never even realize, blessed be the Lord. And anyway, enough of that. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we see you next year into 2023 with new videos, maybe. Yes.
Yep.
And we wish you the best. We wish you a very Merry Christmas. And blessed be the Lord.
Blessed be the
Lord. And whatever Lord that may be to you.
Whatever Lord that
may
be
to you. Them.
And let it be Peter Capaldi.
Merry Christmas.